Hi friends, welcome to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Katelyn and I like to film eyeshadow palette ranking and review videos, as well as the occasional other beauty content sprinkled in. So if you like indie makeup, if you like eyeshadow palettes, if you like beauty content in general, I highly recommend that you hit that subscribe button because I post 2 videos every single week. And for those of you that are not new here, my face is happy that you are seeing it again. And if anybody is curious, this wig is from Cozy Zone. I will try to remember to add my affiliate link to the description box down below. This is the I want to say it's the Chocolate Crush wig. Anyways, this is a synthetic wig. It's a hard front, not a lace front, but it's super inexpensive. So anyways, that's why I got it, because I think it's fun to have like the pop of pink with the bright blonde hair. And I keep trying to tuck it and I need to just let it sit. Anyways, I am so excited for today's video. I'm obviously not wearing either palette right now, but I wanted to do all of these beginning parts of the video, of the comparisons before I've used the Natasha Denona palette, but I haven't used the Nomad palette yet. So I didn't want any like comparison-esque things getting in the way. So that's why we're starting where we're starting. But if you couldn't tell by the title, we are going to be battling the Nomad OKAVANGO Safari palette against the Natasha Denona YUCCA palette. Both of these palettes just launched. Both of them have very similar color stories. I want to figure out for you, because I already have both, I want to figure out for you if you need both of these, and if you don't need both of these, which one wins. So if that's interesting to you, then you should go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, and also go ahead and keep on watching.
Round 1. Fight.
Hope you enjoyed the little voiceover. That is my husband. He did me a solid. I wanted this to feel like an actual like video game type battle. Getting into the price comparison. First up, let's look at the price of the the price of the Nomad OKAVANGO Safari palette. This palette retails for $42. I did pay like $5 in shipping, so I think it's like $47 total with shipping. Natasha Denona YUCCA palette is $69, and I think I got free shipping when I pre-ordered it. Anyways, we'll ignore shipping for now. This palette is $27 more expensive than the Nomad palette, so as far as the price round goes, we're gonna have to give it to the Nomad palette. This one will be the winner for round 1.
Round 2. Fight.
The packaging round, I already knew this was going to be difficult because I had seen reviews where people talked about how the Nomad palette is like soft. It's not like furry, but it feels like maybe like I guess somebody described it as satiny. I guess I could see that as the texture. It's really soft to the touch, and it just adds like a level of like a sensory experience to the palette, especially with the cheetah print. I think it's perfect. You have a great mirror, and then also it's a cardboard packaging, decent size, easy to hold, so all positives. The Natasha Denona YUCCA palette, I think this might be some of the prettiest packaging Natasha Denona's done, especially on the middies. I love that it's not the mirrored packaging, because that gets dirty really fast. It's kind of like an ombre tie-dye type of green thing happening. You do have the holes in the back because the pans are magnetic, so you can pop them out. Also have a really good sized mirror here. The palette does like stand up when you like the mirror stands up, like you could just flip it up like this and it'll stand up. It is a plastic packaging. So when I was thinking about this, I was like, okay, let's talk about the pros. Like let's just go. So as far as the first pro, the sensory experience, I'd give to this palette, the Nomad palette. The ability to pop pans out goes to this palette. The ability to stay standing up, I don't know that people really need it, but it's nice when you're doing your makeup. You don't have to like hold this part. You can just kind of hold it down here and the mirror stays up. So I'd give that to this palette. Both packaging's really great. Mirror's awesome. Both are easy to hold. This one's just like a little bit better, so I'm going to give the packaging round to the YUCCA palette. YUCCA or YUCCA? YUCCA? I don't know.
Round 3. Fight.
For the interesting round, and I wanted to do this round before I did any looks because I do intend to do a look with one palette on one eye and look with the other palette on the other eye and wear it for an entire day to test longevity of the palettes. So I need to do swatch comparisons to figure out which shades are the most similar. So let's just do a side-by-side hold. So holding them up, like, as you can see, very similar color stories. Overall, like, super similar vibes. I don't know if any of these shades are going to be exact dupes for each other. That's what we're about to find out. I'm going to go into the shades that I think look the most similar in pan and swatch them next to each other, and we'll just kind of like talk as we go, basically. I think the shade in the Nomad palette, Marami Game Reserve, is going to be similar to the shade Tipu from the Natasha Denona palette. Yes, those are both very similar. So I'm going to put those, I don't know where is going to be easiest to show. I guess I'll just put them on my arm and then I'll do B-roll to show all of them next to each other. So I'm going to put the Nomad shades first in each one. Now swatched out, not on my finger. I don't know if you'll be able to see it right. Okay, you can kind of see a slight tonal difference, but ultimately like super similar shades for sure. Let's go next up. I'm gonna say the shade Honking Hippos, right there, dark brown, against the shade Flax, which is also a dark brown. I try not to put too much stock in like palettes having similar like dark brown or black or whatever shades, because it's like, ooh, and these aren't that similar actually. Interesting. Okay, so we're doing the Nomad one first. It's definitely darker. They look more similar swatched out than they did on my fingers. Okay, here we go. So there they are. Again, this one's like a little bit more like khaki and that one's more like chocolate. There's really, okay, now that I'm like straight up looking at them, there's really not that many similar shades. Okay, I'm gonna do Elusive Leopards in the Nomad palette, and we're going to do Ixia in the Natasha Denona palette. I think this is gonna be too orange, but no, I was wrong. Okay, again, doing the Nomad one first. The shade in the Natasha Denona palette is slightly deeper, but they are very similar. Right, I at least have 3 mattes I can work with to do a similar look, so we're looking okay for my plan. All right, we're gonna do Towering Giraffes in the Nomad palette. This one's really neutral, but I'm gonna compare it to Fushi, which is the cream to powder, and the Natasha, yeah, those aren't even close. It's not even, I don't even know, waste your time comparing those. The one in the Natasha Denona palette is more orange, so I think we're just gonna leave that. Okay, I'm gonna go into Vumbura Plains from the Nomad palette, and I guess Citrine from the Natasha Denona. Yeah, I didn't think these were gonna be that similar. Similar depth, but Citrine from the Natasha Denona palette is more yellow than the shade Vumbura Plains from the Nomad palette. If I compare it to, no, I don't think there's really anything else that's similar. Okay, and then let's take the shade Chef's Island from the Nomad palette and Willow from the Natasha Denona palette. These are not similar either. These are gonna be your 2 darkest greens in the palette. Obviously you can see the Natasha Denona one goes more blue-green. That's more of like a true green. This is a very pretty color story I'm creating on my arm. Okay, I didn't swatch the shade Calathea, which is the cream to powder matte in the Natasha Denona. That's what it looks like. It's not really going to be similar to anything in the other palette. Like that's, oh, I guess that one could be more similar to that green, the Chef's Island green. Those are probably a little bit closer. So anyways, so now we got double Natasha Denona at the bottom there. Okay, let's look at the shimmers. I really don't think there's going to be a ton of similarities in the shimmers. We're going to do Mighty Buffalo from the Nomad palette and Elysian from the Natasha Denona. Yeah, those are not similar. I wonder if the zebra shade's going to be more similar. I'm going to take the Migrating Zebra shade from the Nomad palette. No, even that's like kind of different. it's closer. So that's the migrating zebra. These two on the ends are Nomad. That one in the middle is the Natasha Denona. It's almost like the Natasha Denona shades, like a combo of those two shades. And I'm sad because I just had to mess up the zebra stripes. Leaping Lechuous and Plantasia. Ooh, okay. Those are the two shades. Again, not really super similar. Oh my gosh, okay. So that's the one from the Nomad palette. This is the one from the Natasha Denona palette, and I'm sure it's not going to get captured on the film, but this one's a like orange green duochrome, and it's like lime green shifts, and I can see it even in the lighting. I don't think it's going to pick up on camera, but if I can see it in the lighting, that means that's a really pretty shift. Ooh, okay. All right, let's see. Let's do Nile Crocodile. And is that gonna be similar to Ray, maybe? Yeah, okay. So this is Nile Crocodile, this is Ray. So those are those two shades. Ray's like slightly more gold. Let me pull Makia from the Natasha Denona palette too. Makia might be closer. Both of these shades are pretty similar to this shade from the Nomad palette. That's kind of it as far as what would be similar. So let's take a look at swatch comparisons. Well, I feel like it's hard to pick a winner for this round. I think this round's more important to say, like, they did have differences. I don't feel like these first three comparisons were the most similar, and then I think this green shade down here, like, so I'd say like 4 shades. I guess you could make, I still feel like those look different. So I'd say like 4 shades between the two palettes are similar. The rest feel pretty different for me, but the overall vibe of the palettes when I held them side by side, I'm going to do that again for you, like they are similar vibes. So I am going to call this round a draw because I don't know how to pick a winner for the comparisons, but I think it's something important for you to decide, like, if you have a similar vibe, do you really need both of these? If you're like an eyeshadow palette connoisseur, similar to myself, I do feel like there are different enough shades that you do have different shades to add to your collection. So yeah, let me insert the B-roll so you can get a closer look instead of me like going like that. So you can get a closer look of the shade comparisons, and I'll even film it outside so you can see it as well.
Round 4. Fight.
Okay, so for this round, I have one eye wearing one palette and one eye wearing the other palette. I don't know if you could tell that we had 2 different palettes. I feel like it's, well, I also placed this eyelash a little too far over on this eye, so I feel like it's enhancing that these eyes look a little bit more different than, anyways, whatever. Anyways, let me know in the comments if you could tell that these were different eye looks slightly, and then guess which eye has which palette. So I will wait a second so that you can comment that. I don't know which side this is for you, but I will reveal all in a second. Okay, this eye right here, this is my right. This is the Nomad Cosmetics palette, and then this eye right here is the Natasha Denona, the YUCCA palette. So there we go. When I was going to do this look, I figured, okay, I'll just pull the shades that were similar from the swatches and then just do those. So on the Natasha Denona side, I started with the shade Tipu, or Tipu, in my crease, and then on the Nomad side, I started with the Moremi Game Reserve shade in my crease. Those applied very differently. So the Moremi Game Reserve looked a little bit lighter in the crease and a little bit more yellow, compared to the Natasha Denona shade that was slightly more green. And the Natasha Denona shade was interesting because it sort of like created its own shadow and almost looked like 2 different mattes applied and blended together. So there was like, I don't know, there's some sort of like nuance to that shade. So it almost looked like I had like a lighter matte and then a darker one blended into the crease. So to replicate that, and overall that shade looked darker. So to replicate that, I did pull in the shade Crash of Rhinos to create some of that depth over here. And then I did also pull in the shade Citrine to blend this one out a little bit more so that we got a little bit closer on that initial application. They still looked kind of different, but I figured I'll pull in the dark brown mattes and that should help, which I feel like it did. So I used the shade Honking, oh my gosh, just dug my finger into that. I used the shade Honking Hippos, which is the dark brown matte in the bottom corner. I used that on the Nomad side, and then on this side, I used the shade Flax right there. So once I did that, I felt like the two matte like creases pretty much looked the same. So it's like very subtle differences, but I just wanted to point that out because I felt like I was going to be able to just go in with the similar shades and they'd look the same, but they didn't actually apply the same, so I did have to kind of finesse it to create a similarity. Now, the shimmer on the lid. For the Nomad side, I used the Nile Crocodile shade, and I know people were saying that the swirly shades had hard pan. Mine still doesn't yet. I was able to apply that, and I did spray my brush with Fix Plus, but I was able to apply that, and I think it looks fine. On the Natasha Denona side, I did use the shade Ray. I felt like the sparkly foiled shades would be too sparkly compared to the Natasha Denona shimmers, so I went with Ray, which is the only regular metallic in the palette, and there was like the Nomad shimmer was slightly sparklier than Ray, so I did pull in a little bit of Maquia just to like the front portion to like try and create a little bit of that shine. But overall, I would say Ray and Maquia on this side are more green, and this one has a little bit more of a yellow to it on the Nomad side. So I think that's like the only difference I can really see. I didn't pull any other shades because I felt like none of the other shades were similar enough that I wasn't gonna have to do a lot of work to make this look the same, and I was really just trying to go for a similar look. I did just pull my highlighter into the inner corner. If you're curious, I was using the BellaBeauteBar Oracle Chrome highlighter. I used the shade, The Lovers, which is this one right up here. I used that on my face and on my inner corner. It's a multi-chrome highlight. So yeah, that's basically the look. I finished the eye look at like 7:30. It's 8:08 right now. I've sprayed my Fix Plus, finally finished getting ready. So yeah, we're basically just going to come back. I don't know if I'll be able to come back throughout the day because I am working today. So if I actually take a lunch break, I'll try and check in then. But I'll just try and at least check in right before I wash this all off, just to share how everything wore for the whole day. And then we'll just kind of decide which palette wore better. But ultimately, this is proof that you can get a similar look out of both palettes. I did have to work at it, and those were the most similar shades. So I don't think these palettes are as similar as I thought they were going to be, but you can get similar vibes. I also feel like I could create this look with my Kaleidos Flower Punk palette and probably some other palettes I have. It's not like, it's like a grungy green crease, brown, green shimmer. Like the colors I picked for this aren't exactly revolutionary, but anyways, yeah, I'll be back to show you how it's wearing. It is 4:42, so what is that? From like 7:30-ish to now, the eye look has been on 9 hours, and I mean, minimal creasing, both looks. My under eyes are creasing, but that always happens. Also, my lips look really janky. I literally touched nothing up. I wanted to prove to you guys, I've worn this all day. This is what I look like after 9 hours of wearing my makeup with absolutely zero touch-ups. These are from the glasses that I wear while I work. Like, this is authentic review that you're getting right now. But anyways, focusing on the eye look, I don't notice like a ton of fading, if any, and there's really no creasing after 9 hours of wear. That's pretty solid. We will see how these look in the next few hours because I'm going to like make dinner, edit a video, work out. I will leave this on while I'm working out, and we will see how this all looks. But yeah, anyways, this is where we're at 9 hours in, if I can do math correctly, and I think I did. So see you in a few more hours. We've lost the ponytail and the lashes because I really am ready to get in the shower. It is 8:45, so it's been about 13 hours, like slightly over it, that the actual eye makeup has been on. I think it's okay that we don't have the eyelashes on because we can get close and you can see how the looks wore like real up close and personal, my face looks terrible. I'm embarrassed that this is on camera. But anyways, we have some fading here and then also here. So I feel like we have fading in the same spots, but like ultimately, I think overall the looks wore really well. There's some creasing, very, very minimal. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy with how this eye look wore from both palettes for the day. So if I had to pick a winner, I can't. I would say this category is also a push. I think the quality of the two palettes is pretty comparable. Not that I'm surprised. Natasha Denona and Nomad are some of my favorite eyeshadow formulas. So part of that is because they last all day and I feel like wear really well. So yeah, I'm super happy with this. But let's move on to the next round.
Round 5. Fight.
Let's talk about like the creativity of these palettes. So I'm going to focus on the looks that I've done with each palette, which is technically 3, although one of them was a look with both palettes. So I've done 2 separate looks with each palette. So that's what we're going to get into for this final round. So this first look that I did with the Natasha Denona YUCCA palette is the look that I did in my first impressions video that I did with the palette. So I will have my first impressions video linked for both palettes in my description box if you want to check those out. This look I loved. It was very much like a monochromatic like green moment, but I thought it was super pretty. The shimmers were gorgeous. And then the second look that I did with that palette, I played with, where is that palette actually? And then the second look that I did with the palette, I played with this shade Elysian, that was also really pretty. I tried to play up like a matte, like bright shade, and I still think it looked really nice. I don't know that it photographed as much as I would have, like as well as I would have liked it to, but in person I thought it was a really pretty look. I liked it a lot. So I definitely felt like that was more of like a creative eye shape for me. You know, like I don't tend to go matte shimmer unless I'm doing a halo eye like today, but it was fun to have like light colored matte, dark colored matte, and just a shimmer in the middle. So I really liked it. I thought it was fun. I overall enjoyed playing with this palette. I think I don't know if I've used all of the shades. Oh, I definitely haven't. I haven't used the more neutrally shades. So I haven't used Plantasia, Valley, Fuchsia, or Ixia yet, but I felt like when I looked at that combo of shades, that's gonna give me like a very pretty neutral look, probably somewhat similar to the look that I have on right now, but Plantasia is a gorgeous shade, but I just was feeling the greens when I was looking at this palette. That's kind of what my eye was drawn to. So I do still have a few shades left to try out in this one. Sorry that I needed to get this video out sooner, and I have a lot of stuff coming in, so I didn't have as much time to play with both of these as I would have liked to give you like multiple looks. But I do a palette palooza on my channel where once I've used every shade of like a series of 10 palettes, I come back and I rank the palettes, talk about like my thoughts in detail on each palette. So if that's what you're looking for, keep an eye out. Although I will say that's probably a far ways away because I have like, I think 2 sets of 10 eyeshadow palettes before that one. But anyways, that will be coming soon. I'm like keeping track like of the 10 in the order that I get them, but I almost wonder if I should just do it as I finish, so that I can like have 10 be done. You know what I mean? That might be a better, I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, should it just be like each 10 as I get them, I just like try to finish up those 10 at the same time and do it? Or should it just be like, as I finish a palette, it goes on the list, and then once I hit 10, I do those 10, move on. I just feel like there's certain palettes that would end up getting pushed away further and further. That's why I have it set up the way that I did, because it kind of forces me to like keep using things until I'm done reviewing them, you know? Anyways, switching gears slightly, let's look at the look that I did with both palettes. I really had a fun time playing with this one, and I talked about it when I did the look, or talked about the look, but the shade Tipu, I felt like created its own sort of gradient on the lid, or in the crease, and I thought that was really interesting. So I had a blast with that. I actually really liked that look. I could see myself redoing that look with both of these palettes, honestly. I think it was really, really pretty. Now shifting gears to the Nomad palette, the looks that I did with that one. Nomad palette, the first look I did, I was pretty attracted to this like cool toned row at the bottom, and I really like how that look turned found out. It was like neutral, but with like some greens. And I thought that that was a really pretty, really fun look. And then the look that I have today, I focused totally just on this top neutral row, and I added a multi-chrome liner. It's one of the ones from Adept. It is the Galron liner. I just thought that was fun because it kind of blends in depending on the way you look, but then it also shifts green, which I feel like pairs nicely with these shades. But anyways, obviously a super neutral look. I really like it though. I think it's pretty. That being said, as far as creativity goes, is there one of these palettes that sparks more creativity for me than the other? And I will be honest and say not really, but they do spark creativity in different ways. As you can kind of tell from the looks, this one really made me want to go green, green, green with it. I just kept being attracted to the green colors and tones in this palette, whereas this one made me really want to go like neutral, but like a slightly spicy neutral, you know, like amp up a neutral look a little bit, but like it didn't make me want to do boring neutral looks. It made me want to do fun neutral looks. The only shade I have not used in this palette is the Migrating Zebra shade. I've used every other shade. So I did not have issues with the Roaring Lion shade or the Nile Crocodiles, which were the swirl shades that I felt like everybody was saying their swirl shades had hard pan. Maybe it looks like my Migrating Zebra shade has hard pan. Let's try and swatch it right now and see. But it comes up no problem. Like I didn't even push that hard. So I don't know if that's actually hard pan or if it's just the appearance of the swirl making it look like hard pan. But I felt like people are saying that they have hard pan, and to me that implies that they're like having difficulty picking the shades up. I didn't. And I picked up Roaring Lines today with a brush and no problem. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know why I haven't had that issue. If maybe it's just like over time my palette's gonna have that issue. I don't know if I did anything different than anybody else because I swatched it with my finger. I went in with a brush. I used my Fix Plus. Like, I don't know. I don't know why I didn't have that issue and other people seem to. But anyways, as far as the creativity round goes, I don't think I can give one palette the benefit over the other. I think if you like neutrals, like slightly more spicy neutrals, I think you would really get a lot of use out of this one, and I think this one's really fun. If you're somebody who's like, don't really want to touch neutrals with like a 10-foot pole and would rather have it be like more green with the occasional neutral to help blend things out, whatever, I think you might like this one. But honestly, I think color lovers and neutral lovers could probably find ways to like both of these. Like I don't know. So as far as creativity goes, we're gonna call it a push.
Final thoughts.
So to recap, we had a winner for price, which was NOMAD. We had a winner for packaging, which was Natasha Denona. We pushed on had a draw, I should say, on the swatch comparisons because they both swatched no problem. We had a draw on the longevity because they both wore very similarly all day. And then we had a draw on creativity because I feel like depending on what you want to do, either one of these could spark some more creativity for you. So at the end of the day, it's kind of a tie, but this is what I wanted to focus on. I think this is where I'm stuck because for me personally, humbly, I say as somebody with like 150 eyeshadow palettes, I do think they're different enough. For me, they're different enough. Now, that's for me. For you, if you're watching this going, I really have to just pick one, I feel like there's enough differences that I can like give you an idea of which one you're gonna like better depending on what kind of makeup you tend to prefer. So if you can only have one, I think what you have to consider is what is most important to you. Now, first things first, price. There's a pretty steep difference between these two. If you really need something that is lower in cost, maybe this palette. Although I will say this one's $69 and I do have a 15% discount code. So what does that bring it to? If you want to use my affiliate code, you don't have to if you don't want to. You could use somebody else's code, but you should use a code to save 10%. Or 15%, sorry. Okay, so this palette after the 15% discount code should be down to $58.65. So $58.65, I believe this one was $42. It's been like over a week since I started this. Let me check. $42. So still like $16 difference. So I mean, not quite as bad as when this is full price at $69. But if price is like a big contributing factor, you know, you might want to go with this one. However, that being said, there are a lot of creators that I know that have said that these shimmer shades in this palette hard panned. So that is a gamble or a risk that you're running with this one. I haven't seen people have the same issue with this palette, so if that's something that you're concerned about. So I hardly ever get hard pan with my palettes. I don't know why or how, but I feel like every palette where people say, oh, I got hard pan, like that doesn't happen to me. So I don't know what I do differently. I don't know what I do differently than them. But if you're somebody who like does have palettes hard pan frequently, you might be in that same boat with this one. So maybe that's something that you need to take under consideration. Now, if you rarely have palettes hard pan, maybe you and I are in the same boat and we just don't have palettes hard pan or something. I really don't know. I can't explain the difference. I don't know why it doesn't happen to me, but it seems to happen to everybody else. But anyways, I think that if you are, this is like the bottom line, if you are a hardcore neutral girly and you only want a hint of greens, this is the palette for you. If you're somebody that likes to dibble dabble in color but also likes neutrals, you might like both of these. If you're somebody who you know, likes color but also likes neutrals, like, so you're more than dabbling, you know what I mean? I think you'll prefer this one because this one does go pretty neutral. Like when I look at them, I get more neutral vibes from this one than this one. But like I said, I think if you like both neutrals and colors, you might just be happy with both of these. I don't know. That's me. I like everything. I like different textures. I like different formulas. I like neutrals. I like greens. So I like both of these. So I'm happy to have both in my collection. Like I said, I have a bunch of eyeshadow palettes. So to me, it feels worth it to have both of them. But I think at the end of the day, you have to decide for you what you would most prefer to put your money towards. So I hope this battle helped any of you that are still trying to debate like which one you want, or if you want both, if you're holding out because you have one and you're like, I don't know if I really need that other one. I hope this helped. You know what's funny, in high school I had a teacher who told me we were supposed to write like persuasive essays, and I had a teacher, my English teacher, that was like, you are a fence sitter. Like I could not for the life of me like do like really strongly go for one point over the other. I'm very much the person that's like, here's both sides, you do with that information what you want. Like I don't want to make you think anything or make you buy anything or influence you in any way, which is ironic since I am here making videos as an influencer. But anyways, that's what I think on these. I mentioned this in, I think it was this video, or maybe it was this video. One of these first impressions, I mentioned that the palette was similar to the Ace Beauté Tropical Vibes. I feel like it was this one, because this palette I feel like is most similar to the Ace Beauté Tropical Vibes palette. Now, if you have that palette, I don't know if you need this one. I do think this and that palette are more similar than these two palettes, I had that backwards, than these two palettes, if we're being honest. If you have the Ace Beauté Tropical Vibes, I would say get this one, and then between the Tropical Vibes and this one, you could get everything you need out of this one. If you don't have the Ace Beauté Tropical Vibes and you always wanted it, or you have that and you don't like the formula, but you like the color story, this one's good. I do really like it. I really like both palettes, like I said, so I hope this was helpful in some capacity. Anyways, let me know what you think of all the looks or this style of battle video. Let me know in the comments down below if you liked it. If there are any other palettes that you're like, I think we should battle those two palettes, and you would all, like, I get enough interest in that, I could maybe do another battle video. I did think it was fun to have like the different rounds and to like just really rack and stack like two palettes against each other. But yeah. Anyways, that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed everything, and I will see you next time.